Nate Olson from ScorebookLive.com joining us here as we are, I was going to say home stretch. Nah, we're in the final lap. We're in the final, 50 meters of the high school football
The checkered flag
season.
is out.
That's right. You have, 4 down, 3 to go. I counted 8-man football in that, Nate, because you guys actually did some covering of 8-man football this year. Well, let's get into the classic game with Fayetteville and Bryant. Just seemed like, you had two great teams. Bryant, obviously the behemoth, the Cyclops. Mm-hmm. Fayetteville would be the would be David in this case, and just wasn't meant to be for the underdog, but a classic game nonetheless.
You bet. There were better games this year, but not a better one than I witnessed. And I have to leave most games at halftime that I go to. I do TV for Channel 11 here and stay watch as much as I can, usually to the third quarter or halftime. Then I leave, and so I was able to watch this one from the press box at War Memorial from beginning to end. And it's one of those games where if you weren't a fan of either team and you were watching it on public television, you were riveted by it because it was exciting. And it was probably almost a relief to you to not have a team in that fight because it was such a back and forth slugfest. And Fayetteville really proved to me that they belong there. And they had to get there by the skin of their teeth. The 40-yard field goal against Conway by a kicker who had never kicked a field goal in a game. So they got there in kind of miraculous fashion, but they proved to me that they are an excellent football team. And if you take Bryant to the fourth quarter, you're doing something right. If you have them down with a couple minutes to go, you're even doing something more right. And so they just couldn't quite hang on. But 38-34, they lose. But I really think it said more about Bryant than Fayetteville. They are just on a run that we haven't seen much in Arkansas high school football.
Yeah, I want to ask exactly why. Why is that, Nate? Why has Bryant become the, reload every year program? And there are a couple others in Arkansas, but when you're talking about the largest classification, this is just very impressive.
Well, we've seen PA do it, but the thing that is impressive about Bryant is it's at the 7A level where you've had some real formidable foes, or they're supposed to be formidable, like Bentonville in there, North Little Rock, Fayetteville. I mean, there's traditionally really good competition, 7A. I have the privilege of living here and seeing all the way, my sons are 10 and 12, so I see all the kids that are like from third grade on up, and what I see is a ton of athletic talent in all sports. I mean, these kids are good athletes. I see it, in fifth grade with Luke and seventh grade with JD. The middle school football team was undefeated. They handed off to a running back on the first play of the year. He went 80 yards for a touchdown. So there's a lot of talent there, and Buck James is, he's not only one of the better coaches here, but one of the best in the country in the region for sure. Anybody would want to have him, and he's assembled a great staff. Kirk Bach, he was a great baseball coach, won several state baseball championships. He's a full-time football coach now, and Buck really gave him the credit for working Carson Burnett, who was a 13 quarterback last year, and probably more like a running back, linebacker type, into a more than sufficient quarterback. But going back to the game, so the big play was, this is, it's Bryant in a nutshell. It's 4th and 7 with a couple minutes left, a little over 3 minutes. And you get the feeling if Fayetteville's got the lead here, if they get the stop, they're going to win the ball game. They probably need 1 or 2 first downs, depending on clock management. They're going to win. And Bryant, I didn't think the play calling there, they'd run the ball pretty well, but it was 3rd and 7, and they went way downfield, and the pass was errant. So this sets up a 4th and 7. It's kind of tricky. And Burnett throws a strike to my Torian Singleton, the really emerging super sophomore. He's had a great last 5 or 6 games. He is heavily defended over by the sideline. The defensive back has his hand right in his breadbasket, and Singleton makes the catch, and the guy immediately tackles him, but he peels off the tackle and goes another 15 yards down the sideline, and then a couple plays later catches a ball in the end zone that a lot of people on the Fayetteville side thought he pushed off, offensive pass interference. But, I mean, that's Bryant in a nutshell. I mean, 4th and 7 with a quarterback who, he started all year, but he's not a star like Ledbetter. And he delivers this great pass, and Fayetteville is right there. I mean, it could have easily been knocked away, but it's not. And I think a lot of things have happened over the last couple of years for sure. Or this year for sure. Almost lost to Conway. They win that game. This game the same way. When you're winning and you believe you can win, that momentum is invaluable. And I think that was kind of the difference in that game, was that when it got down to the crunch time, Bryant knew they were going to win the game. And I think Fayetteville thought they were, but I think Bryant knew it even when they were behind with that coaching staff, and they pulled it out. But Fayetteville, and the other thing I got to say is extremely impressed with Bladen Fike. He had 3 picks in the game. Somehow, but not all his fault. But he threw for 400 yards, and he had the go-ahead score was down by the goal line. He carried it 3 yards, and they were all over him, hanging on to him. He still gets in. You can tell he made a lot of improvements over the year from last year. He's a very good athlete. How he was in All-State in 7A, I'm not really sure how that worked. But he's one of the better. We have him ranked as one of the top, 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the state, regardless of class. So, you can take that for what you want. But he impressed me a lot, and Satenya is super athletic, super fast. We saw that. And, when he gets with Kenny Guyton and he can run a little more crisp routes across the middle, a la Jerry Rice, he's going to be big time in the SEC. I mean, you see the speed. It's just, he's still learning the wide receiver craft. But when he gets those routes down, I mean, coming out, he had one where he came out of the break, and he looked really good doing that, a crossing pattern. And that's going to be a way that I think he can really help the Hogs, maybe even starting next year. But it was cool seeing him in person, and they're getting a good one there at Arkansas on him.
Nate, down at the 6A level, I think somewhat of an upset. El Dorado beating Greenwood, capturing their first title since 2013. Just real quick, what were your thoughts on that game?
Well, Greenwood got bit with the injury bug again. I don't know if you guys knew it, but I mean, in some positions they're down to the 3rd team guy, and they had lost. They were down to their 3rd team running back. Javian Williamson came in and did a really good job for them, but he broke his leg last week. He was having a great year in relief, and so it really just came down to attrition. Hunter Houston, who had kept them in the game, their quarterback, he gets hit really hard twice and then knocked out of the game, and that was kind of all she wrote then. And Sedarius Plummer runs for 4 touchdowns for El Dorado. Their defensive line looked big time, 8 sacks. Greenwood had a hard time blocking them. But the other thing that stood out to me is, man, you see a guy like, Drew Morgan. He wins the Burlsworth Award. There's something in the water down there. Those kids are tough as nails. They had guys in that game that hadn't played much, that were hurt, and they battled till the end. And that's the kind of mentality that got Morgan that award. And his brother made the team too. Drew Morgan, he was recruited as a walk-on and was a real good player too. It's because those guys don't know how to quit, and they're tough. And it showed in that game too. I mean, it could have been a worse differential, but they tried to stay in it even though they were outmanned.
All right, Nate, what else do we have this week? What's on the docket for you? What do you think is the best game that's left over?
I think the Shiloh Christian Robinson game will be good. Shiloh is down late in the ball game, gets the ball back, and you think you're going to pass the ball, but Ben Baker 5'8", 160. He carried for 200 yards in that game, a 57-54 shootout. Carries it 3 times, and they score, and they win. And that's another program that knows how to win, but they haven't been in this position for a long time where they're behind. And I thought they showed a lot of moxie coming out with it. There's already at least one outlet that's picked them to lose the game this week against Robinson. Robinson's hot. They've got a quarterback who is a good player, Jack Cleveland, Darryl Searcy, a standout running back, and a Marion Harris, who Hog fans know, 6'7", 340, offensive tackle, defensive tackle, two-way star for them. He could make a big difference in this game, I think, maybe helping them stop the run. The run game has been real big for Shiloh. And I think if he plays well. I saw him in the first game of the year against PA. It was really hot. He was kind of laboring. It's a little cooler now, except it is supposed to be 80 on Friday here. But hopefully not too bad for him where he gets cramped or anything. But that's going to be a good one. I think it'll go back and forth. Should go to the fourth quarter. And at one point I thought Shiloh, was going to cruise right through it. But Arkadelphia stepped their game up, and Robinson is playing as well as anybody right now. They blasted Warren down there, and as well as I do, most teams don't go to Warren in the playoffs and pull out lopsided wins. So that was a big telltale sign for them. I think with Shiloh barely winning and Robinson winning big, that may make some people pick Robinson, but I think there's also going to be a little bit of bulletin board material for Shiloh. Jeff Conway was a great coach, and they have a tradition of excellence in winning there, so that should be a good one.
Last thing here, Nate, and we got a couple of minutes left in the segment, is an interesting weekend for anybody involved with Pulaski Academy, because they beat Whitehall in the 4A championship. And then, a day later, Kevin Kelly announces he's resigning from Presbyterian College. And, it felt like an experiment with him taking a head coaching job in college, and I understand there are challenges to coaching specifically in that league. It's not just Presbyterian that doesn't do football scholarships. It's the entire league. But the experiment didn't work out. Lost 9 straight games, and he got blown out in a lot of them. What happened there?
That's a good question, but I've been somebody that I want to see it play out. I don't think 1 year it was long enough, and I don't know if that was his decision, if it was a school's, if it was a mutual thing, but I don't know. There were some bright spots there where they led the nation in passing. I just don't think they had enough talent all the way across the board, and probably defensively, but there were some bright spots. It left me kind of scratching my head, to be honest with you, because Kevin is a guy that he's got a lot of tenacity, and I really felt like he'd hit the recruiting trail hard and get some more guys in there. Probably come to Arkansas and get some kind of underrated, talented players and bring them in there that more fit his system. Some PA guys too, and maybe come back stronger next year. But a lot of people have asked me, and I haven't talked to him, and so my first inclination was that somebody had contacted him about a job. We haven't heard that yet. I still, no matter what happened this year, I believe that he's a Division I offensive coordinator for sure. I think that he's I was talking to somebody else, and they threw out the word, genius to describe his offensive philosophy, and that's what I've called him too. He's very brilliant with that. Throw out the whole gambling, the no punting and stuff. He wouldn't do that at the Division I level, probably at the Power 5 level, but his play calling and ability to put people in the right place would show through there. I think this is a real head scratcher, though. I thought that I didn't think that they might win the league this year or anything. And going 2-9, it's disappointing, but sometimes that happens when you take over a program. So I wouldn't have thought that this would be the end. It would be a challenge to try to come back next year. And so it didn't happen that way. And we may find out exactly what happens at some point, and it'll be interesting to see. I'm like everybody else, really wanting to know where he'll land, because I know it'll be somewhere.
Nate, appreciate you, man. Thanks for everything.
Thank you, guys.
We'll,
Thanks, Nate.
enjoy the games this weekend. Nate Olson, scorebooklive.com.
It's Thanksgiving, and we all know what that means. Football. And nothing goes better with football than turkey and betting. BetOnline has you covered for all the holiday season. More props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all sports action this Thanksgiving. Head to our new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus with the promo code BELIEVE to receive your bonus. That's BLEAV to receive your bonus. And it's not just football. BetOnline has pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, even your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all these amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports.